Canto 22. I've seen a troop unit break camp, launch an attack, pass in review and retreat when it had to. I've seen cavalry horses race through the Aretine, Greenbelt, raiding parties, opening ceremonies, and hand-to-hand combat, begun when bugles, bells, drums, and from the castle smoke by day and fire by night, and with both simple and imported whistles. But honestly, never ever have I seen men or armor move, or ships launch in response to such an outrageous call to arms. We were going along with the 10 devils, what barbarians! But as they say, in church you meet saints, in dive bars, belchers. I was intent on the pitch, trying to sort out the details of this particular pocket and the people burning in it. The way dolphins arch their back when the storm approaches as to signal sailors to batter down the hatches. Occasionally, to ease the pain, one of the sinners would arch his or her spine, then, quick like a cat, hide it again. Or the way frogs will sometimes sit at the edge of a ditch with the bulk of their bodies and feet in the water, and only a nose poking out. So, the sinners did that, on both sides. The minute Barbie appeared, they immediately bobbed back down beneath the tar. I saw one, I still shudder, who hesitated an extra second. It happens. One frog leaps, the other waits. And Irma the beast, who was closest, speared him with a fork in his pitched, dripping locks, and plucked him out. He looked like an otter. I knew all their names by now, having heard them once when they were selected, and again on the ridge when they called to each other. Work those talons, crazy rummy. The whole disgusting group was cheering. Rip every last ounce of flesh off his back. Teacher, I said, if there's any way, could you find out the names of this poor guy who's fallen into enemy hands? My teacher walked over and stood next to him, and asked him where he'd come from. I was born in the kingdom of Navarre. My father was a slacker who wasted away the little he had, so my mother got me a position in the house of a lord. I parlayed that into a position at court with every kind of King Thibaut, where I began to take bribes and cook the books, for which I'm boiling now. Now, Roadhog, tusks protruding on either side of the mouth. Let him know how it feels when a single tusk rips through a torso. The mouse was in the clutches of the evil cats. Barbie, however, locked him between his outstretched arms and said, "Back off. I've got him." He then turned and looked at my teacher. "So ask," he said, "if you want to know more before they make mincemeat out of him." My teacher said, "Sorry, but do you know any Italians in there among the others?" "I just left one," he said, "from Sardinia. I wish I were still with him beneath the pitch where I wouldn't have to fear the fork in the claw." Then Gaddafi said, "This has gone on way too long." And with that, he dug his fork into the guy's arm and gouged out a tendon. Dragon Nikolic made a move for his legs, at which Captain Barbie quickly turned his head from one to the other, glowering at both. Once they'd settled back down, my teacher quickly asked the sinner, who was sadly inspecting his arm, "Who was it you said you were with when you made the mistake of surfacing?" "Fra Gomita," he said, "of Gallery, a fat piggy bank full of fraud, who handled his master's enemies so shrewdly they complimented him on it. As he tells it, he wasn't just a petty loan shark, but a mafia boss. For a fee, he'd sell anyone a get-out-of-jail-free card. Don Michael Zanch of Logodoro is his pal down here. They never tire of speaking Sardinian and trading stories. Uh-oh, that one's showing his teeth. I'd love to keep chatting, but I'm afraid he's getting ready to carve his initials in my neck. Captain Bardby shot a look at Fubar, who was making bug eyes, as if about to pounce, and said, "Don't even think about it, Dungbird." "I could call up some Tuscans or Lombards," said the sinner, who was terrified out of his wits, "if you'd like to see or talk to any. You'd have to make the psycho clause get back a bit, so the sinners won't think there'll be a price to pay. That way, instead of only me sitting here in front of you, you'd soon have 7. They'd pop up as soon as I gave the whistle we used to say coast is clear." Mad Dog lifted his head and shook it, and he said, "He's a dirty trickster. He's just trying to buy time to get back in." And the sinner, who had artifice to spare, replied, "I guess I am a dirty trickster, since I'm causing more misery for my friends." Killer Clown had clearly had enough. He took the side of the soul, but said, "If you dive back in, I won't run after you. I'll fly. And I'll grab your ass out of the pitch. Now let's get off this ridge and hide behind the bank. We'll see if you alone can outsmart all of us." Now, reader, here was the whole new game. They all scrambled to conceal themselves behind the ridge. First in line was the plan's most vocal critic. The Navarrese chose his moment well. He stood, both feet planted for all the half second, then leapt. Wham bam, thank you, man. At this, they were all sick with self-reproach, but most of all Killer Clown, whose fault it was. He let out yelling, "You're caught now." It did him little good. His wings could not perform terror. As the soul plunged under, the devil rose up, head up, heart high. The scene was like that of a duck avoiding the talons of a falcon by diving down, leaving the raptor mid-air on the way up, fuming and feathers ruffled. Ilse, furious at the con, flew behind him, glad he'd gotten away. So she could go toe-to-toe with him. As soon as the cheater was no longer seen, she turned her talons on her fellow devil and grappled with him above the ditch. Killer Clown, however, had the force of a full-grown falcon, and more matched her, talon for talon, until together they plunged into the boiling pitch. Less than a second in the hot mess and they parted, but now their wings were gummed with tar, so there was no way to rise. Barbie, every bit as furious as the others, had our fly toward the opposite bank, each with a fork in hand. In no time, they descended, half on one side, half on the other, forks extended, toward the trapped pair, who were already crisp as burnt toast. That's the mess we left them in.